Oh, hello, hello, and welcome. My name is Lee Cara, and this is a very special edition of Unleash Your Light. We're going to talk about something very specific today, and it may not apply to everyone out there, but it's definitely going to apply to a lot of you. We are going to talk about being an empath today. So I'm going to take just a moment and make sure that I'm live. I hope that if you are joining me, that you will share it out with your friends, share it in your group, share it with people who are empaths just like you. Hi, Terry Stacy, how are you? All right, let's see here now. Go ahead and take care of this. Ting, ting. Share it in a couple of groups. I hope everyone is doing well. Hello, Lorraine, welcome. It's going to be a great show. Share this with anyone that you think might be struggling because they don't quite understand how to handle being an empath. Maybe you're in that point of trying to understand it. It is not an easy thing. Believe me, it is not an easy thing. That's for sure. Hi, Jill. Hi, Monica. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you guys are here. I have one more place to send this. All right, there we go. We're all set. Woohoo! Oh, yay, Terry, good timing, huh? Don't get in a wreck, okay? I'll try not to say anything too shocking while you're driving, right? I have a little fan going. It's a little warm in here. Hi, Carolyn, welcome. We'll just chitty chat for a moment. I want to make sure you guys, this is a very interactive thing. If you have tips, if you have comments, if you have questions, please make sure that you post them, not just for us who are here live, but also for people who will be watching afterwards down the road. As you know, it can be very difficult and challenging to find out you're an empath and then to figure out what to do with it. Hi, Hamad, welcome. To figure out what to do with it, to figure out how to navigate it, to figure out how to basically be normal in a world full of people who don't have any clue that they are sending out so much energy and that you are receiving all that energy. Oh, good, Terry, good, relax, lay down. So I think it's really important for those of us who are already on that path and for those of us who are just beginning. Hi, Carla, welcome. To support each other and to share things with each other about this sort of thing. Hi, Rainey, welcome. Yes, Jill, perfect. You're in the right place then. Hi, Corrine, welcome. You're definitely in the right place. So once again, if you know someone who is an empath, if you know someone who seems to struggle with their emotions, have extreme mood swings, change from one thing to another really quickly, you might want to share this with them, possibly in a message, not on their page. So, keep it on the DL a little bit so you're not putting them on blast. Hello, Angela. Hello, Brian. Welcome. All right. So, as I said, this is all about being an empath. And the first thing we want to talk about is, what is an empath, right? What is an empath? Basically, if you are an empath, it means that you are feeling the emotions. Hi, Linda, welcome. You are feeling the emotions of the people around you. And it takes it one step further than just being aware of them. A lot of us have that we care about other people and we want everyone to be happy. So we're always worried about how other people feel. We're always worried about their energy, their emotions. We may not say it that way, but like if you're the consummate hostess or if you're the peacemaker, if you're the one in your family who always has to make sure everyone's okay, that is one level of empathy and needing that love and approval and needing things to look a certain way. If when you find someone in your family or in your circle or whatever that is having a strong emotion, and then now you're feeling that strong emotion, right? If you're the person that when your best friend tells you a story about how they got mad at their boss, now you're mad too, and you're willing to go fight them. If you're the person that literally can walk past a person having those emotions and all of a sudden you're feeling angry. You don't know why you're feeling angry. Your mood just shifted 100%. You might be an empath. It's like that redneck thing, right? If you find yourself having extreme mood swings based on nothing, you might be an empath. If when other people are around you, you now feel what they are feeling at a depth where you feel like it's your emotion too, you might be an empath. It's a very simple and yet not easy thing to identify. Pretty much if you take on other people's emotions, you're an empath. Now, maybe you're already in it and you know that you're an empath, right? At that point, a lot of people feel like because I'm an empath, I have to, what are the words they use? I have to transmute the other person's energy and try to fix it and send it back out in love and light. That's a very dangerous thing to do. When you become an empath, unless you have years and years of experience and you really understand the manipulation of energy, if you're at the beginning and you recognize, hey, I have a little bit of power here, hey, I can kind of help people feel better, and you try to do it a lot, you can actually be damaging yourself more than you're helping them. So you really have to be aware of everything that goes along with being an empath. If you have problems in crowds, one of the things that, hi Roseanne, welcome. One of the problems that a lot of empaths have is that when they go out in public into large crowds, they get much more overwhelmed. Yes, absolutely, Carolyn, it is possible to have that. I don't do meditations, Hamad. I actually don't do meditations. I think that each of us meditates in a different way. Of course, there's a method to that sort of a thing, but and if you feel drawn to a method, do it. I say there's many paths. There's many paths to the light, and it doesn't matter which one you take. There's many names for God, for the Gaia, for the source, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter which one you choose, as long as you're seeking it, as long as you're looking. I always think the path is within you. If you feel inspired by Christianity, if you feel inspired by spiritualism, if you feel inspired by sacred geometry, paganism, Wiccan, Buddha, Hindu, whatever it is that inspires you to look within and be accountable and own your own emotions, then that's the right path for you. And your path can change. You might get to a point where you're like, well, this isn't enough for me. I need to expand. And then you find something new. Whatever feels right to you is right for you. Hi, Roy. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So a lot of empaths have a problem going out in large groups of people because it's a lot of energy coming in at once. And basically, if you don't quite have that sort of an issue, it's like having 50 radios tuned into different stations all the time. Sometimes as an empath, you'll hear the actual thoughts. Sometimes you'll just feel the energy. Sometimes you'll even get visual, like bombardment of what's in other people's minds, or light, or patterns, or things like that. Empathy, or being an empath, kind of expands a little bit differently for everyone. And I do believe that everyone is an empath. Ahmad, I think you're right. But I do think that there needs to be something that shifts you into it. For some people, it's the awakening. For some people, it's a traumatic experience. For others, it's a very emotional thing that they're going through. Something usually clicks, and then they start to recognize, maybe these aren't my feelings that I'm having. I'll tell you a story. Let's move into, if you think you're an empath, you're not alone. You're not alone, okay? I discovered I was an empath in late 2012, early 2013 when I had my awakening. And my awakening was like a bolt of lightning. And I literally started hearing voices and got a download of a book. And they said to me, you're an empath. And I said, what the hell's an empath? Because I wasn't in this life at all. I wasn't spiritual. I wasn't anything. I was the girl who argued with the Jehovah's Witnesses when they came to the door. That was a fun afternoon for me. Not in an angry way, but in a logical, scientific way. So I didn't even know what an empath was, and I had to use the Google to find out what the heck an empath was, okay? So on my path to this, I literally got smacked upside the head with the download, with the connection, with the emotion right off the bat. But it explained a lot of things for me that had been happening in my life. I was always the people pleaser. I was always the one trying to make it right. And if people around me weren't feeling right, then I wasn't feeling right. Then I had a problem. I could not separate myself from the people that were around me. Hamad, you are not alone. You are not alone, Hamad. I always felt like I was alone in a room full of people exactly like that. And I tried so hard to please everyone and to get all the emotions feeling right. I thought if I could make everyone else happy, then I would feel right. And that never happened. I was never able to do that. You know why? It's not my responsibility to make everyone in the room feel right. It's my responsibility to work on myself and make me feel right. And what they taught me, the first step in the Unleash Your Light, in the Unleash Your Light system that they sent me, and the download that they sent me, was you are not alone. That is the very first step. And the reason that we are not alone, and I'm sure many of you already know this, is that each of us carries a piece of the light, of God, of Gaia, of Fred, whatever the heck you like to call source power. Each of us holds a piece of that is still connected to source. It is still connected. And I kind of picture it almost like a bumper cars, how they have that pole going up that's on the net above you, like the electrical net, and then you can drive around anywhere on the net. That net is like the energy of the collective, of the light, of God, of blah, blah, blah. We are connected to it by this energetic tether type of a thing. And it exists within our mortal body, our meat puppet body, this divine expression. We are a singularity of the plurality of source, of creator, of, like I said, whatever the heck you like to call it. So being that we are a singularity of a plurality, we still belong to the plurality. We still belong to the greater mass consciousness. The collective is what most people refer to it as. That means that you are connected to every other person on the planet. You are connected to them in a deep way because you are connected to the light and they are connected to that light. And we are all feeding from the same source. We are all individualized expressions of the same plurality that is the higher power, the source, right? And that is what animates our little brains and makes us, think and talk and all this kind of stuff. And as we have incarnated in different bodies, we live different lives, we get different experiences, and we have different paths to what we're supposed to do. So you are never, ever alone in anything that you're doing, even if you look around and you don't see anyone there. Let's see here now. Carolyn says, emotions are thoughts that we need to pay attention to, self-reflection, thinking of emotions as thoughts instead of feelings. That's very, very true. Absolutely. We're going to definitely get into that about when we talk about separating the emotions. And there's many ways and tools to feel and realize you're not alone, Ahmad. Rainey struggled with that. Absolutely. We all do. I think part of being in this awakening is that we do feel alone quite a bit. And being an empath, that feeling is intensified because you feel even more isolated by the fact that you feel so many emotions and none of them are connection. We have a tendency as empaths to isolate ourselves so that we don't start soaking up other people's energies, whether by accident, we isolate before we find out we're an empath, or we tend to isolate after we've discovered it, because it can be extremely overwhelming to feel other people's emotions, right? Because you don't know what they've been through, but now you're feeling an intensity of emotion that may not feel right to you because you haven't been through something with that same intensity on that topic. And yet here you are, raging about it or all that kind of stuff. Welcome, Suzanne. Welcome, Elaine. Welcome, Crystal. My mama bear. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, rather than digging straight into the emotions of this, is some protection. Bubble up is what I always say. I created a bubble. They told me to make a bubble. Okay. Now you can do this. It's all in your mind. Our minds have incredible power. Our conscious mind has incredible power of creation, okay? They are incredible power of creation. So when we visualize something in our minds and start to believe it as a reality, it shifts the reality. Hi, Danielle. Yes, I'm live. It starts to shift the reality that we live in. So when we start to believe something and visualize it and truly embrace that as a truth for us, our whole life starts to shape itself around that belief, okay? And there is scientific backup for the power of the conscious mind. But, okay. Bubbling up is basically creating in your mind a bubble, a wall, a door, whatever it is that you feel protected behind. Maybe it's a shield. Maybe you feel protected behind a giant pit bull. Everybody has something that makes them feel safe. For me personally, I created a beautiful pearl bubble. And I had a little rhyme that I made up about it, my protective shell protecting me from any negativity and from absorbing the energies of others. And it only lets in love. It only lets in loving energy. Now, it allows me, my bubble, and the way that I've created it, I can still recognize, hi, Jorge, welcome. I can still recognize someone else's emotions without absorbing it, okay? That's, you want to be able to, am I frozen? You want to be able to recognize people's emotions as an empath, welcome, without, if I'm very, you want to be able to recognize it and know what they are without absorbing that emotion. Let's make sure I'm okay. Am I moving again, y'all? I don't know. Let me see here now. Sorry for the interruption. Because if you are absorbing the energy, then your bubble's not working. And if you are absorbing the energy and transmuting it, which you should not really be doing inside of your bubble, you don't want to soak it up. You want to recognize it. You want to see it. You want to observe it. You want to know that it's there, but you don't want to soak it in as yours. So whatever it is that you're imagining in your bubble, in your protective shield, for your pit bull to do, for your hydra to do, whatever it is that your angel, however you like to visualize protection, this is what you need to focus on. And it needs to become a habit that anytime you leave the house, anytime you're around people who you end up soaking up their emotions, sometimes even in your own house. I wore mine in my own house 24/7 for years until that person moved out. And it becomes a habit to automatically put on your protection, whether you call it a bubble, whether you call it a shield, whatever it is. You have to believe that it works. And it takes a while for you to retrain your mind to visualize that. It takes a while for you to retrain your thoughts to know that that's going on. I know that back here, I believe that it was Terry, maybe Stacy. Oh, there you go. Terry Stacy said, I've bloody tried that. I hear you. It takes a while. Hi, Rosina. Welcome. It does take a while, and you have to continually replace it over and over again, because you might be out shopping and you're thinking about your grocery list. You're not thinking about your bubble, right? You're not thinking about your bubble. So you have to try to be able to do the bubble thing along with everything else. It needs to become almost involuntary that you're wearing it. And what will happen is after a certain amount of time, you kind of get so that it's automatic. And anytime you're around people, ploop, it just comes up. And you don't even have to think about it. I don't even think about my bubble anymore. And maybe there's a physical thing that you can do to remind yourself. One of the things that I have is I have my necklaces with the crystals that I'm drawn to that were for particular things that I wanted to do. And I know when I put those on, I'm going into a different mindset. So sometimes a physical thing can help you to maintain your visualization, to maintain what it is that you're trying to do. Whether it's a ring, whether it's a bracelet, whether it's a necklace, whether it's even like a rubber band on your wrist. You know, like when people are trying to break a habit and they're ting, 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 like they keep doing that. Anything that can physically remind you of your visualization will help you. And there are lots of different kinds of crystals that you can do research on. There's lots of people here who are amazing resources on that sort of thing. And all of that can help you. Whatever helps you is right. I'm not one of those people that says you have to do it this way or it's not going to be right. Whatever helps you, whatever feels right for you, then that's the right way to do it. And you might have to experiment. Maybe you put on a bubble and you find out, man, I need a tougher thing than a bubble. So you might need a plexiglass wall. As long as when you visualize it allowing in love, allowing in light, right? As long as you can visualize it that way, it can be as thick as you want it. It can be bricks. It can be rocks. Like I said, whatever it is that's right for you. Just make sure that you are allowing love to come in and that you can still interact with people and sense their emotions without absorbing them. That is the key thing. Even put that in your little phrase that you say. Yes, Rainey, this is absolutely correct. You have to think about it a lot at first, and then after a while, it just automatically pops on. Boom, and it's there. Okay, and it does take some time. A lot of people like to do grounding and that sort of thing after they've gone somewhere where there's a lot of people. Some people ground by imagining like light colored roots that go into the ground. Some people ground by connecting to the crystalline grid inside the earth. Some people ground just by listening to music. Bubble wrap suit, that's beautiful, Monica. I love that. Whatever makes you feel like you can still kind of interact, but you're not going to absorb it. Paint yourself in Rain-X in your brain. Whatever works for you is beautiful, right? And if you feel better after going out in the world and coming home and you need to ground, whether you ground by dancing or earthing or, standing in the backyard and under the moonlight, naked, whatever it is that you like to do to kind of shed that. Some people do it in the shower. That's another thing I've heard is that if you picture the shower water like cleansing white light or blue light for healing, or all the different colors of the chakra in order, then you can cleanse off all of the stuff you've attracted during the daytime. I like to use sage and I just kind of run it over my whole body and tell myself that I'm letting go of all the things that have attached to me during daytime. I have a tendency to attract things because I'm kind of shiny. So I have a tendency to attract things. And so I make sure that I, sage off and all that kind of stuff. Everybody's got a different way of doing it. Everybody has a different mindset. And whatever works for you is right. Okay. There is no wrong way to do it unless it's not working. Okay. Keep trying, keep working at it. But this is at the very beginning, bubble up. And then you can start working on the hard part. And that is separating your emotions, right? Because what happens as an empath, and we have these mood swings, is that we can think that those are our emotions. That's beautiful, Jorge. I love that. That's a great idea. I have the same thing with the little necklaces with the cages. Here, I'll pull my little necklaces out. So I have the same thing with my necklaces with the cages. And one of them is for anxiety, because I struggle with anxiety because of a physical condition that I have. And one of them is for connection with the earth, with my feminine power, with my divine, with the energy of the universe, however you like to say it. I also have one that works on my root chakra and my sacral chakra. Those specifically need some work because of the things that I've been through in my life, in my marriage, in my relationships. And so anytime I need to work on those kind of things, I put it on and there you go. Some people will use a hematite ring. That's a tough thing. I would only use a ring. I wouldn't wear it all the time. When the ring breaks, throw it away. You're good for a little while. It basically kind of soaks up negative energy. But you have to cleanse them really good when you get them. If you're wearing it repeatedly over and over again, taking it off, putting it on, you're going to want to cleanse it overnight on your windowsill in the moonlight every night and charge it during the daytime if you can. Tattoos are nice, but I always worry with tattoos. Sometimes you have to really commit, of course. I have many of them. I committed to all of them. Some of them I probably need to cover up at this point. Sandalwood, whatever works for you. And I would love it if you guys put it up here, what works for you with your bubbling up. Because people are going to watch this for days forward. And like I said, there's so many different ways. All the input you can get, somebody's going to be drawn. They're going to go, oh, I love the smell of sandalwood. And boom, they're going to light it. Or Palo Santo is another one that's absolutely amazing for that sort of stuff, protecting yourself or releasing at the end of the day. So now separating your emotions, you need to be able to identify what is my emotion and what is not my emotion. What is me and what is not me, okay? And the only way to do that is self-awareness. And that is probably one of the most difficult things to do in this awakening, is self-awareness. Self-awareness is knowing who you are at a deep level. It's recognizing your own issues so that you can separate them from other people's issues. That's beautiful, Carolyn. You're very lucky to have a guardian. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome. When you are self-aware and you know yourself, know thyself, right? When you are self-aware, then you're able to distinguish what is you and what is somebody else. What is my emotion and my issue and what is someone else? Now, here's the problem with this. Here's where we run into a lot of issues. As empaths, as humans, as people on this journey, we attract the issues that we need to work on. The people around us are reflections of the unhealed parts in us, the problems that we go through, and the people who give us the most issues in our lives are a reflection of what's already inside of us. Now, if you don't know what your emotions are, what your issues are, then you're not going to be able to separate your side of that emotion from what they're doing to you. If you don't know that you have an abandonment issue, that you feel unwanted, if you don't know that you have a jealousy issue because you're afraid of other people, leaving you, or whatever your issues are, if you don't know what those issues are, when you feel it in someone else, it is going to push your button. It is going to trigger you in such a way that you can spin and spiral into a depression or into a sadness or climb in a dark hole that is not of your making. It can send you, hello there, how are you, Smile Con? It can send you into a depression. It can send you into a dark place because you don't recognize that that person is there triggering your issue. Now, that's separate from being an empath. That's just a human thing in the awakening, okay? That's just somebody who literally you're dealing with day to day that has nothing to do with you being an empath. But when you're an empath, not only are you going to have your own fact that you're triggered and your emotions, but you're going to feel the other person's emotions on that issue also. You're going to have their energy, and it'll be the strongest one coming at you, probably not the hurt and the pain, but rather the anger or the lashing out that comes from it. And that is going to then double your situation, your feeling, right? So you're not going to be able to even know that what you're feeling isn't half them and half you, which then heightens the drama in the situation that's going on. It heightens the emotions and the anger. It throws fuel on the fire because you're not only having your emotions, you're getting their emotions too. So now instead of being at a 6, you're at a 12 in your reactions to what's going on. Do you see what I'm saying? It doubles the emotional input and the energy when you cannot separate what is theirs and what is yours. And the way to separate that is to know yourself. To know yourself. Good, Monica, I'm very glad. When you are aware of your own emotions and your own places that need to be healed, it's much easier to separate them from everyone else's. It's when you don't know what that is. See you next time, Rainey. It's when you don't know what those emotions are. It's when you don't know what you are, what you believe, how you feel, that you start getting mixed up with what's yours and what somebody else's. And then you react to their emotion. You react to what you're absorbing instead of reacting from a place of love, of unconditional love. What is unconditional love? Love without conditions. Doesn't mean that what everybody does is right, but it means that you understand them. It means that you understand their motivation. It means that you get that when somebody lashes out, it always comes from pain. When somebody is angry, it's always coming from a feeling of loss or fear and pain. When you recognize that, you're able to have that unconditional love. You're able to process it differently, okay? That unconditional love also applies to yourself, because you have to love yourself unconditionally, no matter what you've done, no matter what you've said, no matter how guilty you feel, no matter how much shame you have, no matter how many times you've messed up in your life. You have to forgive and accept yourself exactly as you are today, faults and all, so that you can truly be self-aware and handle the energy of being an empath in a way that does not take you down, that does not drag you under, that does not make you feel like you are drowning and you need to hide from the world. Because a lot of times that's what people who are empaths want to do. We want to hide from the world so that they don't trigger us, so that their emotions don't get tangled up with our emotions. And then we feel all this yucky stuff and we're in so much pain and we go down and we hide in a deep, dark hole or under a rock or, whatever it is that you like to say that you do. For me, it was always I climb into a hole and I would hide. I didn't know it was happening. I just knew I was depressed. I was sad. I was upset. I was angry at myself. I was guilty all the time. I had so much shame in my life. I had so much I'm a mess up. I'm a screw up. Nobody's ever going to love me. I'm unwanted. I had all of that all the time, right? So then when someone else came in that triggered any of those emotions, someone else came in that had those emotions in them, or of course I'm attracting people who will make me feel that way. So then their energy of lashing out hits me and I absorb it, and you like that kind of an energy. And then I'm doing that to myself already. So then it's completely amplified, right? It's amplified to the nth degree because I have their energy and my energy to deal with. And I don't know what the difference is. That's why it is so important as an empath to really focus on your own self-awareness, to really focus on your own self-validation, to find your approval within, to find your approval from the light, from God, from what you know is right through unconditional love, forgiving yourself, loving yourself. And it is not an easy thing. It is a simple thing, but it is not an easy thing to do, especially because we have a lifetime of building up all of this emotional crap inside of us. That's what Unleash Your Light is all about, the method or whatever that they gave me in a download. That's what Unleash Your Light is all about, is cleaning off all of the emotional yucky stuff that we have built up over a lifetime so that we can really connect to the light, to the divinity that's inside of each one of us that connects us to source, to the collective. So when you're an empath, and you're trying to learn how to separate your emotions, this is why it's so important to know yourself in a deep way, to be honest with yourself about who you are. All last month and leading up into this month, I did shows on self-awareness, accountability, being stuck in a loop. Why do you get stuck on a roundabout, repeat, all this kind of stuff. And leading up to this blood moon and the lunar eclipse and into the gate that's happening on the 8th, it's all about expanding your self-awareness, learning who you are, being honest with yourself. This last show that I did I did a show on taking a good hard look at yourself. And one of the things I said was that if a person is a con man, a person is a liar, a person is a cheater, and they're good at it, they fully know on their off time, on their days off, what they are. They will say, I am the best liar there is. They own it, right? They own it. I'm not saying it's a right thing, but they are very aware of who they are. They're very aware of that fact. So you might be someone who, I'm working on my jealousy. I always get upset when my friend goes off with someone else, when my man spends time with someone else, when my kids have something to do other than me, and I feel left out, right? You can point the finger at them. That's not being self-aware. When you point the finger at yourself and go, I do that because I'm scared to lose the people that I love, because I'm scared of abandonment, because I have fear about not being loved. That's self-awareness. So when you know that, then you're able to interact with them and not have your feelings be as triggered, because you're already going to be feeling and soaking up their feelings, hopefully not absorbing them because you're using your bubble, right? You're going to have those both sets of feelings that you're going to be knowing at the same time because of your empath ability. But when you know which of those feelings is yours and you know that you're working on it, it makes the entire situation different. It allows you to survive through those moments as more of an observer instead of sinking in to that double dose of energy and emotion. It allows you to kind of step back and watch what's happening and observe what you're doing and trace back these things that still are triggering you and these emotions that are based in fear. That's how you find your self-love, your self-awareness, is by exploding those things that make you feel that way. And Monica had a little comment here. So even if someone seems to be mean to you, it's not about you, it's about their emotional garbage, not yours. So when someone says you're a bleep, don't take it personal, right? It's the way that they feel about the image that they have for you, and you don't have to accept it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? When somebody gets mad at you, even if you were the cause, even if you actually did something to inspire them to be angry at you, like you broke a glass or you stayed out late and you didn't call and they were freaked out, worried, right? And they're screaming and yelling at you. Rather than say to yourself, man, they da-da-da-da-da, and put on your defense. They don't have any right to talk to me like that. So what if I was late? I'll be as late as I want to, da-da-da, right? Rather than respond to the anger by putting up your hackles, you want to allow that person to say what they need to say. Hopefully they're saying it not too terribly abusive, but recognize that their anger comes from fear. It comes from being worried and scared that you weren't going to come home at all, or that maybe you're out doing something that's going to hurt them. It comes from their fear. When you can recognize that their anger is that, and that lashing out is coming from a place of fear, then you can send that unconditional love, maybe not in words, but in energy, to help heal that person's fear. Yes, you did wrong. Own what you did wrong by not calling and saying, hey, I'm going to be 2 hours late. Hey, I decided to go to another bar. Hey, I decided to stay late at work. And maybe you don't deserve to be yelled at, but by understanding where that person is coming from, that all of that comes from pain, you absolutely do not have to internalize their pain as yours. You can stand in your own accountability for being late, your own accountability for not being considerate, but you don't have to stand and internalize what they are accusing you of, what they are saying to you, their anger. You're able to separate your emotions because you are aware that you did X, Y, Z, and that inspired them to act A, B, C. You're not making them react that way, but what you did triggered them to something that they need to work on. Maybe their anger, maybe their abandonment issues, maybe control issues. It could be a lot of things. People are brought into our lives so that we can become like a yin yang with their issues. And our issue fits right into their issue. And as we work on it, hopefully they're going to be able to work on it too. So this is a lot to take in. If you're already on this journey as an empath, then you probably know all of this stuff already. You're probably in those processes of figuring it out. Hopefully you've had some little nuggets of extra information here. We're going to jump into the next section of this. Again, if you have any tips on all of that, being alone, bubbling up, protection, separating your emotions, seeing yourself as the observer, anything you want to add to this, be sure to put it in the comments. We need to be a community that supports each other. Those of us who are on this path and are still developing along this path, and brand new people are coming in every day. More and more people are waking up every single day. And we really need to be there for each other. And this is one of those ways that you do that. Someone might see your comment and be so touched by it that they reach right out to you and say, oh my God, thank you so much. You changed my life. You changed my life. This is how intense and deep the transformation of being an empath and being in this awakening is. And one comment from you can change someone's path. So please share whatever you feel driven, compelled is the word I like to say, compelled to share about this. Now, expanding your gifts. There are a lot of people who get this empath gift and feel more like it's a curse. They feel more like it's a curse. I don't want to feel everyone else's emotions. I can just barely handle my emotions. Why are you going to put everyone else's emotions on me too? Why do I have to be like this? Why do I have to hear everyone's thoughts? Why do I have to see the worst things they've ever seen in their life when I walk past them? Why do I have to feel all of the horrible things that they're thinking about themselves and about the people around them, right? But a lot of people who first get these gifts and even years into getting them will constantly be asking, why? Why do I have to be the one to go through this? Because you feel alone, because you feel unprotected, because you feel like your emotions are on 12 all the time, or on 11 if you watch Spinal Tap. Asking why is pointless. Asking why is pointless. You got these gifts because they are needed, and you are needed. And you have been given these gifts for a reason. And now it is your task to figure out why, to figure out how to use them, to figure out how to move forward in this awakening with your empath gifts, because we all have a role. If you're awake, you have a role. And the people who are just waking up, each one of them plays a part as well. Everybody has a role in the awakening. Everyone has a path. And expanding your gifts is how you get it to a point where it's tolerable, where you can handle it, where it doesn't overwhelm you and you can embrace it. I have a friend who years ago didn't know anything about this stuff, had asked me for help about letting go of some things from his past and moving forward and this sort of stuff. And so we started having this friendship, talking on the phone, and me encouraging him to open up, to dig into his feelings. He had a brain condition, disease. He was dying, and he knew that he was, and he wanted to have love. He wanted to know what it was like for the first time, because he'd lived with this anger and rage in him for his entire life. And he was in his late 40s, at the time. And as I would speak to him over the weeks and the months and going forward, he one day started hearing other people's backstories as he was walking through the Walmart. He started having conversations with people in other languages that he didn't speak, because all of a sudden he was on their wavelength and able to communicate with them in that way. These were things that had never happened to him before. And he would get freaked out about it. He was very scared. He was angry it was happening to him. He would rage about the fact that he had to go through this. And I used to tell him, you have to accept it and stop asking why, and stop trying to fight it and rather work with it. It's like being swept away on a fast-moving river. If you're trying to swim against the current, you're constantly going to be thwarted. You're constantly going to have a problem, right? But if you can figure out a way to go with the current and wash up onto shore, or go with the current and get to your destination, or find something that you can float on, then things start to go more smoothly. And eventually those rough waters and fast-moving waters, they always tend to trickle down to something that's moving slowly. Even if it means you go off a waterfall cliff into a still pond. It may feel that way. But riding these gifts out and trying to understand them and work with them is the way that you are going to be able to start living your life instead of hiding from it if you are a person who isolates. So you need to learn how to expand those gifts while you are embracing them, to expand those gifts so that you can do what you're supposed to do on this journey in the awakening. So how do we do that? How do we expand our gifts, especially when you're a person who maybe doesn't want them, has no idea what to do with them, you don't know what your purpose is? Most of those questions, you can't look forward like that. You need to be working on right now, working on your self-awareness. Oh, it's all good, Suzanne. Mwah, you're good. Working on your self-awareness now, right? Part of being self-aware is sensing your own energy, right? Part of being self-aware is being able to maintain that bubble, right? But what you can do while you're in the bubble is kind of send out little feelers, and you might have to visualize it. You might have to say to your, like, see a tentacle coming out, your tentacle coming out of your bubble to the other person, and just kind of start sensing people out. Just kind of start feeling them out a little bit. See if you can sense their energy from behind your bubble. And if it's someone that you feel safe with, try it without your bubble. And see if you can sense their energy or sense their thoughts while still maintaining your own, while still knowing what is mine and what is theirs. And it just takes a little practice, honestly. You really have to just kind of focus on it as a real thing, because we like to push that stuff away and say it's not really happening. No matter how many times something weird happens to me, the first instinct is, did that really just happen? Wait a minute, what's going on? Did that actually happen? Am I actually hearing what they said? Did I actually just predict this happening? That's like our first instinct a lot of the time, no matter how far we are into this, when something amazing happens, right? Expanding your gifts, you're going to be surprised a lot. And the key is to not be scared. To not be scared when you hear someone say something in your head. To not be scared when you're overwhelmed and something, emotion punches you in the chest when you walk into a new environment. I discovered that when I walk into people's houses, I literally see the energy in the house as a physical thing. Sometimes it drips down the walls like black tar. Sometimes it's things flapping around. It's very unusual, and it was very disturbing when it first started happening to me back in 2013. But you're going to recognize, especially if you're an empath and you've always been overly emotional, you've always been dramatic, you've always soaked up people's emotions, it's just a new way of seeing what you already knew. Because I already walked into that person's house and felt uncomfortable and felt crowded and felt weird. But when I walked in after my awakening and saw tar dripping down the walls and things flapping around the ceiling, like a physical picture of the energy of being uncomfortable. Now, is that really there? I don't know. That's just what I saw in my mind's eye and how I translate it, right? A lot of times the people who speak to the other side, who are actually able to communicate with those who passed, they have almost a code system. Sometimes the person pantomimes or shows them images. So like a rose might mean I'm giving that person love. Some of them hear the actual words. Some of them only have visuals and they'll get images, and they create like a code system with the people on the other side, with the energies that they're communicating with, right? Whatever you see, however you are able to do this is right for you. But the way to do that is you have to be willing to experiment with it. You have to be willing to work on expanding your gifts. You have to be really good at your bubble. So that if something weird really starts happening and you feel out of control, boom, you can bubble up and be safe in that experience for a few moments. And then you can choose to continue with it, or you can choose to put a stop to that experiment, that experience that you're having. It's all about accepting what's going on. Hi, Faz, how you doing? It's all about accepting what's going on. It does feel crazy sometimes, Monica. Oh my gosh. Something new happens to me all the time and I feel absolutely crazy doing it. I'll just give you an example. One of the things that just started happening to me recently was having visions of a past life that I've been punishing myself for in this life. And I talk a lot about forgiving ourselves, and I talk a lot about being self-aware, but I actually needed to be aware of a lifetime that I didn't quite remember all of and that I was trying to block out and work through that. That's a gift that I had to accept, seeing these horrific visions and forgiving myself for doing those things in that other lifetime. The more that you accept the things that are happening, the easier it will be for you to learn how to navigate them, for you to learn how to move forward. Even if you are at the very beginning of your trip and it feels so scary when you start to see these things and hear these things and they start popping into your head, because the next step from empath is your downloads, is your clairaudience, clairsentience, clair visual. I don't know all the right words for it. I'm sure there's someone on here does, though. I'm a simple girl. And as you're able to expand your empath gifts, you will click in to what your path is. You will click into what your special gift is in that empath universe, because there are a million different expansions of being an empath that can have a million different purposes in our next step, which is going to be huge, and it's above my pay grade, so I don't really talk about what comes next, but I know it's something big, right? The final thing on this, we're accepting it now, right? We're going to experiment a little bit. You're going to bubble up. You've been practicing. I think this is probably one of the most transformative things that we can do on this journey. Say thank you. Thank the universe for your gift, especially when you are the most frustrated with it, especially when you are the most overwhelmed, when you can't separate your emotions, when you feel like you need to just turn off your brain and just literally lay down and do nothing. In those moments, say thank you for that experience. Say thank you for this level of understanding and this level of new gift. You are chosen. If you are an empath, you are chosen. And everyone in the world has the ability to be chosen, because we're all special. We're all individual. We're all amazing. And we all play a role in what's to come, whatever that may be. And I don't know what it is, but I'm trying to do my part. When you say thank you, what it can do is shift the energy of your situation into a space where you get a solution, where you get comfort, where you get peace. Instead of sitting there spinning with the why me and I can't do this anymore and I'm not strong enough, say thank you for this experience. Thank you for putting me through this. Thank you for feeling these incredible, overwhelming emotions. Thank you so much. Even though I feel horrible right now, even though I'm crying in fetal position on the floor, I thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity, because it really is an honor. It really is a privilege. It's an honor and a privilege just to be human, just to be in a lifetime, and much, much, much more to be human during this time period in our development on this planet. It's absolutely such a gift. And I am excited every single day for what's going to come next, even in my deepest pain, even in my physical issues, even in my crazy personal life. I'm still so grateful every day for what's coming. And I still find comfort in that gratitude and that connection that I personally have with the divine being within me that's connected to the collective, with the individual expression of that plurality. Saying thank you can shift your energy in such a deep way. Welcome, Sarah. It can shift your energy in such a deep way that it can change an entire situation. It also clears out your mind for solutions. It clears out your minds for new methods. Maybe what you're doing to experiment your empath gifts isn't working and you can't figure out what to do next. And you're at the end of your rope and you've looked up everything and you've read everything and you're confused and you're overwhelmed and you're freaked out. You know what? Say thank you. Thank you so much for giving me so many options. Thank you so much for confusing me, because I needed to see how many roads there were, and I don't know which one is right, but I thank you for giving me so many paths and so many realities that I can step into. And when you do that and you take yourself out of that mind of trying to control what's going on, it makes room for your path to be highlighted for you, like glow in the dark stones. It makes room for the voices or the downloads or the images or however it is that you get your comfort. It makes room for them to come through. Because when you say thank you, it stops the tornado. It stops the emotional tornado that we get ourselves spinning in when we feel overwhelmed. When we say thank you, it's that calm after the storm. When the crickets come out and the light is so amazing, that's what thank you does. It puts us in that peaceful mindset where you can see and you can hear and you can feel what's really happening in your world. I am super grateful for all of you guys. So I'm going to say thank you right now. Yes, absolutely, Monica. Listen to yourself and don't second guess yourself so much, because when you talk to yourself, who are you having a conversation with? You're divine, right? When you talk to yourself, you're talking to that divine energy inside of you, and it knows everything. It knows all the answers. If you let it, it will guide you. I want to say thank you to all of you guys for being here. I so appreciate it. You can always find me at unleashyourlight.org. I have my 2 books that I've written. They're free PDF copies. One is the Unleash Your Light Steps. They're very simple. The other one is the Simple Spirituality of Self. And it's all about learning to love yourself unconditionally. When we talked about that self-awareness and loving yourself unconditionally, this book is all about that. It's only 40-something pages long. It's super simple. And basically, I dig into each one of the emotions that keep us from embracing ourselves, that keep us from forgiving ourselves and accepting ourselves. Like I said, it's a super simple book. I write just like I talk. And it's got some simple methods that you can use or that might inspire you to come up with what works for you. Being an empath is all about feeling people's emotions and knowing what to do with them. And it might take you a long time to get there. I'm still on that path. I still don't quite know, what I need to know, but I learn every single day, and being open to that and knowing that you are learning every single day, that is where you're going to find your gift. That's where you're going to find all of these things. Let's address a question here before we sign out, okay? We have Wench here, who is a empath therapist and been on the spiritual road since childhood. Is anyone else feeling like crying without knowing why? The crown chakra is blown open tonight. Wench, here's what I will say to you, and I'm not the expert in this, but this last lunar eclipse, the weeks leading up to it, the lunar eclipse and the blood moon coming on to 8/8/2018, is supposed to be leading up to a new gate, the Lion's Gate, that we're going to be going through, where we are shedding those things in us that still need to be let go of so that we can embrace and embody unconditional love in our everyday life. And one of the things that is happening is that these little remnants of what was in our past, these little remnants of the pain that we've been through and the issues that we used to have that we thought we got over, are popping back up to the surface and making us go through this again. And there's a lot of people who have more information on this. So if you literally Google that information, you're going to get a lot. There's another eclipse on the 11th, which is kind of like this bookmark, like bookend kind of a thing, where we have these experiences. And what I would say to you is whatever makes you feel better, crown-wise, do it. If you're crying and you don't know why, it's a good idea to let yourself cry. And one of the things that I learned actually from my friends at the Joy Love Bus who follow Kyle Cease is he has people make videos for themselves, not a live video like this, although some of them do that. That's another step in it. But to make a video of themselves as they're crying, as they're upset. So it's almost like stream of consciousness where you feel free to say and express whatever you want. because the only person who's going to watch that is you. And you can get to the base of some really deep, dark truths that spur that type of an emotional outburst. And you're going to watch it a few hours later or the next day so that you can watch it from an observer standpoint without getting pulled down into the emotions. But part of what you could be feeling is the collective, because the collective is very much looking inward, you know, revisiting these sad things. And some of them are getting stuck in them and not understanding why. Some of them are not using that to get out of. They're doing the primal crying on the floor in the bathroom in the fetal position and going, why me, why me, why me? I thought I got rid of this. Rather than saying, okay, why is this happening to me? And let me examine this. And thank you for giving me this to look at again, which is what happened in my life. And I did videos on it this month. You can scroll back and look at it. The self-judgment and the pain that I had in my life had come back. My old narrative had come back, fat, ugly, stupid, unwanted, that I was saying in my mind over and over and over and over again. And I could not figure out why. And a lot of it is this energy that's bringing it back so that we can address it again, so that we can dig out from the crevices of our closet all of these things that we need to get rid of before we go through the gate, because we cannot take this stuff through the gate into the new whatever, into the new energy that we're trying to birth on this planet, that we're trying to bring forth. Like we're all mothers, you know. So that's just a little bit. I went a little off course from being an empath there. But once again, you can find me at unleashyourlight.org. And like I said, I have the books are free there. You just go to the little tab at the top. I have some music there that's also free, original music by me. I love to write songs. And so there's some meditative stuff there and some like relaxing stuff. There's some other stuff there. You can just watch some videos, pass the time, you know. I love every single one of you. I do the show, Unleash Your Light. I usually do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Since it's summertime, I have not been doing Tuesday shows. I've only been doing the Thursday show. Every once in a while, I'll pop in with a Tuesday show. This week, I will not be doing a Tuesday show. I will be, well, I might do a little bit of something. I'm going to be digging up fairy stones. So that'll be very exciting. I can't wait to do that. And, but like I said, you can always find me at my page and my group, Unleash Your Light. Are you seeing a pattern there? Unleash Your Light. You can come and friend me if you're watching this on another group. My name is Lee Cara. I think I might be the only Lee Cara on Facebook. I have plenty of room for friends. I put all kinds of weird stuff on my page about sci-fi and TV and books and all that kind of stuff. Yes, that would be really good, Wench. Watch something really sad. If you feel like crying and you can't make yourself cry, watch the saddest thing you could watch. And believe me, that'll get it started. The other night I had a meltdown. I cried for like 2.5 hours because I saw something sad on TV and it brought something up in me. And I just let myself cry. I let myself cry. And my soon-to-be ex walked in and he let me cry too. So it was a beautiful thing. And I almost gave myself a sty crying on my eyeball. It was all swollen the next day, but it's really good for you. It's really good for you, especially if you do one of those videos and it kind of allows you to see what you're really crying about. Because when you're watching it, you can use your empath abilities on yourself to see those hidden things in you. Okay, so once again, if you know someone who needs this video, please feel free to share it with them anywhere you want to. You have permission. You have permission to share my books. They're free. You don't even have to put an email address. Send them to everyone you know. My message is just to get this message out to as many people as I can, to share Unleash Your Light, to share the energy of unconditional love, and to help people learn to embody it every day in their everyday life and to love themselves unconditionally. I hope that's what all of you guys are working on too. It's what we're all working towards. I love you so much. I hope you enjoy this coming week. Hopefully the energies will be a little bit lighter. I don't know what's going to happen when the gate opens, but I'm ready. I hope you guys will be ready too. I love you guys so much. Happy Sunday to you.